Welcome to Successful Time Management. My name is Melissa Ostrowski, and I'm the Academic Success Program Coordinator, part of the Learning, Development, and Success team. And I'm excited to share this information about time management with you.
Learning, Development, and Success have a number of services for you to connect with and ways that we can support you. The first is the PAL Center, which is a drop-in virtual space where you can connect with a learning peer who is a high-achieving undergraduate student that can support you with course-specific content assistance, as well as general learning skills and strategies. We have one-on-one appointments with learning counselors, and there's also math and science specialists, where those individuals will give you personalized learning support. There is the Learn to Thrive program, which is 10 weeks, where we cover each week a learning strategy and a mental health strategy, ways for you to build your capacity and ability to thrive. We also have a number of resources, the first being presentations, so you're engaging with one or in one now. You can find our other topics on the website. And we have a variety of handouts covering topics from motivation to study strategies. You can find those on our website as well.
To start off, let's take a moment to think of what comes to mind when I say time management. What comes to mind when we think about time management? Maybe jot down a couple of words, things that pop to your mind as I ask that question. So here, as we've given this presentation over the years, here are some examples of what we hear from students. We can see the overwhelming positivity here, the benefits to time management that we can see and implement in our lives. Putting into context the value of time management, right? It's a tool that will allow us to ideally reduce stress in our lives. And in this case, we'll focus on that academic stress. Ideally, it's bringing some balance into your life. You're allowing yourself to see your time, where it's going, and be able to include components of wellness for yourself into your week. It's allowing you to find more productivity. You can use your time more effectively and efficiently. And finally, those goals, right? It's by managing your time successfully, you're able to move towards achieving your goals, right? You need all of those things time needs all of those. So our outline for today, some things that you can do in terms of planning, and then we'll get into doing the productivity piece. So start off by defining your time. Academically, what are the tasks, components, the things that you have to do as a student that will take up your time? A great place to start is by looking at your course outline. You can find information about your assessments, right? When are your tests, your midterms, your exams? When are lectures? When are your labs and tutorials? Quizzes being scheduled, readings that need to be completed, etc., etc. But there is more, right? Then we have the components of academics that happen outside of lecture. And that lecture, whether it's in person or whether it's online, right? Those components of learning happening during the lecture. These pieces are the stuff that you're responsible for outside of the lecture. We often recommend students to think of a ratio of 1 lecture hour is going to require anywhere from 1 to 3 hours outside of lecture to complete other academic related tasks. So reviewing or previewing textbook chapters, slide decks, your PowerPoints from your professors, checking in to see if you've understood the material that you learned in lecture, doing practice problems, self-testing, reviewing the material, creating summary notes, studying. Those are all components that are going to happen outside of lecture or lab or tutorial times, but are still really important. And then what takes up your time outside of academics? If those were all the pieces that we were looking at connected to your courses, what are the things that are taking up your time outside of academics? So if you're part of any USC clubs, right, you want to ensure that you are staying physically active, have some social community components to your life, you are taking downtime, you're eating and sleeping. These are all things that we don't necessarily think about, but they're using up our time. So these are things that we can find or use in our planner, in our calendar, right? The academic stuff, a lot of that came from our course outlines and thinking from that lens. And this information, that personal stuff, is coming from, our personal agenda. In terms of then just finding out, like, where is my time going? You can grab from our website, learning.uwo.ca, one of our weekly calendars that you'll find there, and take some time to see where your time's going, right? Add up all of your class hours, remembering that 1 lecture time to 1 to 3 hours outside of lecture for learning, that ratio. Those are the study hours that you're going to add up. When are you sleeping? When are you eating? When are you getting outside, doing some activities, exercise? When you think of how many hours are in the week, and then you add up all of those hours, then you have a sense of how much time is dedicated to academics, to personal, and you have a better sense of where your time's going. So now that you have a sense of where your time is going, a great practice is to set goals, SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, that will contribute to your learning. And identify the ways that you need to use your time in order to achieve those goals. So you'll see there some examples of not so SMART goals and how we've then transformed them using that acronym. A great practice prior to the start of term, at any time really, is to set those goals for your semester or for your course, or maybe you do this practice like on a weekly basis so that you can determine what your activities are, what are the components that you're going to need to complete for the week. So you've identified your goals, and then you can break them down into and understand what tasks need to be completed so that you can achieve that goal. From your, list of tasks that need to be completed, you can then start to jot them down into your agenda, or if you're a person who, doesn't like or doesn't have a physical hard copy agenda, then, there's apps, your calendar, your to-do lists on different apps that you have on your phone. It serves the same purpose. But then you can jot in over the course of the term when you need to get things done, those specific tasks, in order to achieve your goals. A great way to think of those tasks as you prioritize them is using this ABC method. So you've identified, what the tasks are. Now you're trying to figure out what specific days of the week are those tasks going to be achieved or worked on. You'll remember from that previous slide, the one task wasn't complete on Monday, so it was just easily moved over to Tuesday. Right? And you can check in and see, like, are there trends that I'm seeing here? Are there ways that I need to use my time more effectively? Ways to then think, okay, on Monday, these are my tasks. A way to prioritize them are by identifying the A, B, and C tasks. So A is critical, might not feel so great to do. It might be tough, right? It's related to your goals and it has to be done today. We recommend having like 1 or 2 of those priority A tasks on a day. If there's none, great. But identifying those priority A need to be done today tasks. Priority B, those are important. They are related to your goals. And the deadline to achieve them is coming up, but it's not today. Right? And then we're in the range of like 3 to 5 kind of priority B tasks. And then priority C, those are things that can wait. Maybe they're related to your goals, maybe not. We don't have that specific time pressure, and they're the quick, easy things. Sometimes they're the things that we just put on our to-do list so that we can check it off and say, look, I got it done, right? Those fall into that priority C category. Then once we have the sense of our tasks, now we get to move into the action. Let's create a plan. So again, on our website, learning.uwo.ca, we have 4-month calendars. This is a great way for you to get a sense, see the big picture of the term. Here you can plunk in the deadlines that you found on your course outline, right? When your exams are, when your assignments are due, when the quizzes are happening, if you have a presentation you have to give. You can also then think of, when your exams are, when you want to study. Put in the start date for studying. You can think of setting your own deadlines, entering them there, right? So there's lots of flexibility, but this gives you a sense of what the term is going to look like. Then you get into your weekly plan. This I like to think of as your weekly routine. Doesn't matter if it's the first week of the semester or the 7th or the last, right? Your weekly routine, your weekly plan is consistent. So this is when your classes are, regardless of if they're in person, right? That's an easy way to plunk in, okay, I have this class, I'm in person. If you're taking any online courses, remember that you have the option. The great thing about the flexibility of an online course is that you have the option to identify when you're going to do those tasks. So you can say, I'm going to treat this just like an in-person course. It requires 3 hours of learning a week, or 3 hours to listen to the lectures. I'm going to schedule an hour and a half on Tuesday and an hour and a half on Thursday. And then every week I know that's when I'm going to listen to the lectures for that online course. This is also the time and place for you to find chunks of time that you can study, to do those previewing, reviewing, recalling, practice problems, self-testing, summary notes, reading textbook chapters, finding the study times that will allow you to complete those tasks. So here's an example of a completed weekly planner. You'll see there's also those non-academic tasks placed in there. So when are you going to eat? When are you going to sleep or have downtime? So you'll see the blue slash lines at the bottom, like that's downtime, ready to go to sleep. Exercise, when you're volunteering, that kind of thing. The green boxes indicate when the study time is going to happen. And then the dashed green line, that flex study, that is study time that is available, that you can use if you need it. But if you've completed the tasks for that week and don't need to study during that time, great, then you have free time, found time for you. So going back to our agenda or planner, again, this is the way to think of, okay, big picture, 4-month calendar. This is the week that I have these questions, this assignment, this quiz that I need to prepare for. And you are plunking the specific, smaller tasks related to that item into your agenda. And monitor and control is really important, something that we don't often think about. It gives us a chance to pause, reflect, check in, what's working well? Where do I need to change things a little bit to see results? Right? So asking yourself, when are you most productive? Are you a morning person? Are you a night owl? Also keeping in mind our sleep hygiene and how critical sleep is to our well-being. But, right, like, am I more likely to get tasks done in the morning or in the evening, late afternoon? And then planning your time accordingly. How much time are you spending on school each week, right? And are you using that time effectively? Where are you studying? Is that space working for you? Do you need to have conversations with family members, with roommates to ensure that your study space is working for you? So just some ways for you to kind of check in and reflect on how your time management is going, and know it is ever changing, right? It's fluid, it's flexible. You can make changes to your schedules, to your tasks to ensure that you are meeting your goals. One component when we're monitoring and controlling is to check in what's wasting your time. What are your thoughts on that? Where does your time go? So there's a few ideas there. And some of this is outside of our control, right? We aren't able to control if a crisis situation comes up or if I get sick. What we can control are some of the other components. So am I understanding my high priority work and following through with it? Those priority A tasks. Am I taking too much on? Do I need to say no to a few things? Those are things that you have control over and can influence your time and how you're using it. So just be sure to, pause and think about that. How is your time being used? And if you're feeling like, I'm not being so efficient with my time, what can I do to change that? right? So we're identifying a problem, we're thinking of the solution, we're setting a goal, perhaps maybe revising a SMART goal that we had set earlier. We're going to monitor how we're working on that goal and then reward ourselves once we complete that task or meet that goal. So in a lot of ways, technology can kind of take us off our time management path. There's a few examples. So there was a study done about how many times we touch our phones every day. So just a touch, right? So if you have a passcode, ... 4 touches, right? So keep that in mind. But a typical user touches their phone 2,617 times every day. Now, the extreme end of that, the top 10%, are touching their phones 5,400 times a day. So our phones are a huge cause of our time management being diverted, us being less effective, less productive. But the great news, it can also help keep us on track. Right, so here are a couple of examples. So I mentioned if the agenda, the hard copy agenda isn't your thing, then Microsoft To Do might be helpful, right? There's an example. It keeps track of what you want to do for the day, and then you are able to check it off as you go. Focus Keeper, if any of you are familiar with Pomodoros, so keeping track of the time that you are working on a task and then notifying when you can or should take a break so that you're being most productive in terms of comprehension, right? We know that in order for our memory to work effectively, we do need to have breaks. So breaks are key. Get up, stretch those legs. So Focus Keeper is one of those apps that can help you keep track of that. And another, so Forest here, there is, and for others, there may be fees connected to these apps, but Forest will help you keep track of your time, and the more focused you are and dedicated to the task at hand, then you're able to plant a tree, both virtually in your forest, but then the app or the people behind the app are ensuring that real trees are being planted on Earth. So cool. Trello, this is a great way to, if you have like group projects and things like that, to chunk out the tasks and break them down. So whether it's a group project or if a large project that you're working on your own needs or has several smaller components, Trello is a great tool to use. Just an overview again of what we covered, remembering that it's a fluid process. Things can change. If it's not working, take time to pause and see how you can become more efficient.
To wrap up here, our contact information, you'll see our website, our learning email where you can reach us, the phone number. Those last two, the email and the phone number, if you're in need or looking for a one-on-one appointment, that is a great place to start.